and welcome to On the Move. We are Matt and Betsy, and we are on a mission to explore and discover and try to explain to you folks a little bit about Prince Edward Island, this new province that we live in. And today we're going to talk to you about garbage.
So let's talk trash.
Literally.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is something that we just didn't look into at all, and didn't even really consider might be different from province to province, which is kind of silly on our part because it's even different within provinces, or at least within Ontario. I know it's different from
Regions,
city to city.
City to city.
So anyway, something we hadn't considered or thought about. So we really didn't come face to face with it until we actually had purchased our home, had been here a couple of weeks, and then of course you realize, oh yeah, what happens with garbage.
Yeah, we had a few inklings of it because we had stayed at like some campgrounds, and so some of them had some instructions, but it wasn't consistent everywhere we went, which we did learn why that was a little bit later with that.
So we thought today we'll explain what we have learned, but we're not going to promise we have all of the details correct.
Yes.
So if you're an islander and you have a piece of information that we have missed or that you need to correct us on, please go ahead and do so in the comments. We're more than happy to hear back from you.
Yeah, we keep learning things. Even just as much as 2 weeks ago, we changed some of our practices to be in line with something that we learned.
Yes. Or, well, again, we kind of knew about it, but we just hadn't taken into account the significance of what it actually meant for us. So we'll just start with basic garbage schedule. The one thing that I appreciate about here, but for some reason we cannot seem to get our heads wrapped around, is that it is a consistent day that you have. So for our particular road, we are, it goes out Thursday night and is picked up Friday morning. You could risk it putting it out Friday morning, but it's...
Well, you can't where we live.
It's early. Like
I think technically they say that you need to have it out by 7 a.m.
Yeah.
But just this past Friday morning when it happened, they came at, it was 6:19 when they picked it up.
Yeah, so it's usually gone by the time I get out of bed.
And I think that's just because we're at the beginning of the schedule.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, we can't seem to remember, put it out Thursday night, even though when we lived in London, Ontario, it was a rotating schedule. So I forget how many days, like 8 days or something.
6 business days, which ended up being an average of 8 days.
So it would change every week. But it might be because I had so many neighbors and I could hear them kind of start collecting it up and stuff. Or we had a little bit more, it came a little later. So sometimes you'd be lying in bed and you'd hear the truck. But because there were so many houses on a suburban crescent, you'd have time to run your bins to the end of the driveway. Where here, if we hear the truck, it's already too
I had
late.
Once, I was out going to work, and I look, and we have some rolling hills around us, and we're one of the highest ones. So I saw, just coming over one of the hills there, these white lights coming, and it was dark at that point. It was in the morning. I was like, oh, it's the garbage.
Yes, the garbage.
I literally ran down the driveway to try to beat the truck to...
and I would say too, the other thing is I don't know if you want to call it a driveway, a laneway, it is now 3 times to 4 times as long as it was in the city. So, again,
and we miss it at least 30% of the time.
We're ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, what you need to know is sorting your garbage.
Well, actually, one more thing before you go ahead. So remembering about that while we're on that topic. You can get an app now. There's apps for everything, right? It's called Recycle Coach. And I have put this on my phone, and it is actually helpful. I put it there once when I wanted to know about sorting we're about to get to, but it also tells you the days for your own schedule.
When it's happening.
Sorting.
I was going to say, it does change on occasion because we're Fridays. Every once in a while that can hit a holiday, such as not too long ago we just had Good Friday. So Matthew, being very on it, looked it up, and then they just came, actually they scheduled them to come on Saturday. So they just came the following day.
Also, we can get snowed out here for it too, and they won't come, which is totally understandable. And then they said they'd come the next day, and it was still crazy snow, so that week it just didn't happen.
They just canceled it that week. And because it's on a weekly basis, it's not too bad. And because the sorting we're going to tell you about, it doesn't, your garbage doesn't actually get too big.
But one more thing, it's every other. So we get our garbage picked up every 2 weeks. And on the off week, it is our recycling.
No, our compost.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's every Friday is a pickup of some sort.
Yes.
It's bi-weekly or every other week, garbage, compost, garbage, compost.
Yes.
And then the fourth Thursday of every month.
This is our schedule.
Yes.
Yeah.
We get recycling picked up. So that also throws my brain about, because you always have to be thinking the day before, get it out the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get it yet, but we do definitely miss it on occasion.
Okay, let's sort this stuff.
Okay, so see if we can get this. So garbage is, for the most part, garbage. It's more about what does not go into the garbage.
Yeah. What garbage ends up being mostly, when I take it out, it's mostly plastic. Actually,
unrecyclable plastic.
And we'll tell you what those are in shortly. So that's a lot of what garbage ends up being.
Now, having made a transition in our life, which has cut down on our garbage significantly, we no longer have babies or toddlers.
That's true. Diapers would be
diapers.
there.
Diapers made up a sometimes like heartbreakingly large amount of our garbage. And I will admit, for our first child, I did do cloth diapers. For our second, I made it about halfway through. But by the time I was on baby 15 with foster care, I was disposable. So anyway, I am happy to not have that be part of our garbage anymore.
So your garbage has to be in clear bags, which that's kind of a monitoring thing for them, I think. That way they're making sure that you're not putting things in garbage you're not supposed to.
It needs to be visible.
Yeah, which we messed up right from the start. We came with garbage bags from Ontario that were white garbage bags, kitchen bags, but they weren't see-through. So we did 2 weeks of garbage in those, and then realized shortly before it had to go out that it had to be in clear bags. So we donned our gloves,
latex gloves, and ripped open 2 weeks worth of garbage.
Because we also hadn't sorted it properly
either. Because we didn't know that compost was not something that was really optional here. It is, you have a bin for it, and once we realized, that's what that green bin is for, so we had to pick out all of our compost as well.
Which included actually, so your compost obviously is all your organics, and it is all your organics, which I really like. So even meats, eggs, bones, they all go in there. We've come from other places where that may not be the case.
Which surprised me, because some places don't want you to do that due to, I think it's rodent attraction is what would happen. But here, because they're taking it away on a regular basis, we haven't run into a problem with it.
And the bins we have, I'll put a picture in here as well. They're good, sturdy bins, and we don't have a ton of problems with vermin and rodents and pests.
Fingers crossed, hoping that saying that we're not gonna, jinx ourselves.
But it's not. I don't see it either. They're not knocking over bins and things.
No. Now again, we're in a fairly open area. We don't have a lot of trees very close to our home, so I can understand why there aren't going to be raccoons living on our property. But I know they're out there, so there may be other areas that would be much larger problem.
So all your basic organics go in there, as well as all of your, I can't remember exactly what they call it, but essentially it's the really thin cardstock that is like cereal. Not corrugated. Cereal boxes, cracker
Kleenex boxes once you remove the plastic thing off of them. Toilet paper rolls.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
The brown cardboard paper kind of stuff goes in there too. Which is nice too, because that kind of breaks it up and you don't have this giant massive mush in there.
I try now to kind of like layer it so that it will come out. Once in a while in the winter, we were running into the compost went out, it was dumped, and then when we went to pick it up from the end of the driveway, I keep looking that way because that's where I take my compost and garbage. It was a frozen mass into the bottom of the bin, but I figured I'm not going to worry too much about it because as soon as it thaws, it'll go with that next dump.
And the size of bins that we have for an average household, you don't actually fill your bin in 2 weeks.
Well, we don't.
When we've forgotten, we do fill it in a month, which will 4 weeks worth, but you're usually okay. And even so, I've been on this journey to make donuts, and so with that comes frying oil, and so that was the reason I originally got the Recycle app, to find out where you put used oil. Turns out it goes in your compost. You freeze it, and then you put it into your compost as well.
Yeah. So that's what we learned about compost. And then recycling is also not, well, I mean, it could be straightforward, and we were doing it fairly straightforward, but then we realized that we were actually literally basically recycling some money.
Yeah, our recycling would keep disappearing before the trucks came along. Where's it? We put it down there. We're sure. Did it blow away? No,
and I'm always
it's
worried
not
about
in the
that.
field.
We get significant wind,
Yeah.
but it could blow away. There are some recycling weeks that I will choose not to put cardboard out, and we have a bit of a backlog of cardboard from having moved and a bunch of the stuff we ordered and that was delivered. So we'll talk about what we can do with that too. But we can get wind. So I would have the girls once
and you use sort of semi-see-through translucent blue bags, which we were familiar with. That blue bags are common for recycling.
So I would tell my girls, when you got to get on the bus, like if you see our recycling down the road, let me know and I'll go pick it up. So it's not just randomly blowing around. But I would get texts and she'd say, no, Mom, I don't see it anywhere. So
turns out that all beverage containers except for milk. I've read that. I haven't actually tested it. This is one of those things that we've only just caught wind of recently.
Yes.
So all beverage containers except for most dairy products, you pay a deposit on them. And I had seen that on grocery bills and things, but I didn't know what was done with that exactly. So it is commonplace practice here where you would sort your recycling so that all the beverage containers you put together, and then all of your other recycling we'll talk about, you would put in a separate spot. In fact, there are even some kids who do programs of this sort. There's a couple of boys at my school who are on a bit of alternative programming, and every day they go around to all the classrooms to check to see if there are any beverage containers, because they put that together and then they use it for various things as a part of their school program. You have to tell
what happens when they show up in your room.
So one of the boys, he does have some learning challenges, but he's a very sweet boy. But he just everything comes out, everything that he's thinking. So he'll come into my class at random times while I'm teaching other classes. He'll look in my thing and he'll just go, nope. Nothing here today, because I'm not one to usually bring containers of that sort. So a couple of times I've purposely put things in there.
Mr. Campbell's a great disappointment.
Yeah, I'm usually a disappointment.
Well, you're not a pop drinker.
No.
We're not really soda drinkers, so we don't have soda cans. We do, however, quite enjoy sparkling water.
Yeah.
So we have a significant amount of sparkling water cans, and then we also get, the juice we get is, I think they're called a Tetra Pak.
Yes.
So we often get juice in a Tetra Pak, which are also have deposits on them. Mm-hmm. So we do have a fair amount of those in our recycling.
The practice we brought with us is you would save all the cans, because aluminum has value to it. You can take it to depots where you can get the value of the aluminum.
Yeah, I would collect, I'd squash all of our cans, and over, I don't know, like 6 months or so, I'd fill a garbage bag size of cans, and then I would just take it to the scrap metal yard, and I'd get my, I don't know, $4 or $5. That's a coffee.
Yeah. But when they are charging you 10 cents a can, it's much more valuable to take it to one of the depots where they recycle those.
Yes.
There are 10 of them in the province here, scattered all throughout. You can reach it from the east point to the west point, and of course there's quite a number around the Charlottetown area. And we haven't been ourselves, because we've only just figured this out, but we do know they're there, and I know people who use them and frequent them. So that's what you would do with your beverage containers.
What really made us stop and pause to look at this is our girls' school. They came home saying that they were collecting these containers. If you had any, please send them in, because they were raising money, I believe it was to support Easter seals.
Yes.
And they had a certain goal amount that the school was aiming for altogether, and if they reached that goal, I believe a teacher was going to receive a pie in the face or something of that sort. So I said to my daughter, I have a whole bag I've been collecting that I was just going to take for the aluminum purposes. I said, check with your bus driver, see if it's okay for you to bring this great big giant bag onto the bus. And of course, yes, it was. So then we kind of went, oh, maybe we should be paying a little closer attention. If someone's taking the time to collect our recycling for their own personal cash it in, then maybe we should start paying attention. So,
which we decided probably we won't try to take it ourselves, but we'll keep it because we know that the schools will do this regularly. So
we'll just I'll continue to hang on to it, and I try to compact it as much.
But now we can put more in there too.
Now
we can put other things, not just the cans.
The important thing though is if you're going to play this game, please rinse your items. Don't leave things to sit in there and rot. So rinse all your containers.
Yeah. So for your regular recycling, there's your corrugated cardboard, your real box stuff, and that goes, you either pile it or put it in
I think there's even like specific size that it has to fit into, so you do need to cut it down or fold it down to a manageable size. Don't leave some of those big moving boxes in their full capacity. Break it down, squish it down, cut it down.
And then there are 2 bags that you do. So one bag would be your true paper products, like actual newspaper,
like desk paper,
those sorts of things.
I think your egg cartons.
Egg cartons go in there too. Yeah. Yes. So, and that we don't usually end up with a whole lot of that.
No.
And then finally is all your other recyclables. So any plastics that have numbers 1 through 5 are recyclable.
So you need to find that little triangle. When you hold it up to the light, sometimes it takes to
see. I think that's when I feel like I'm getting old.
I can't see this number.
Change the light on it. Is it just me or?
So 1 through 5 are recyclable. That's a mouthful on PEI.
Yeah.
There are some. I think I've seen 6s. I don't know if I've seen beyond that.
Yeah, I don't know. Technically, they tell us there are 6s and 7s, but we don't see.
I don't think we've ever seen it. I've never seen a 7, but 6s I have seen, and so you do have to check those plastics to see whether or not they are indeed.
And then of course things like cans, tin cans, and those things.
Like your soup cans or
those would go in there too.
Cans,
glass bottles,
glass jars.
As long as they're not beverage containers. Would go in there too.
Yeah. So I think we've got a handle on it. It took us a while. We're still not feeling 100% confident about it. But just if any of you are coming to the island, to save you from that like first 2 weeks of disgustingness, try to learn, maybe find this app or even just look up PEI waste management and kind of educate yourself with that before you start collecting household garbage.
And as you go around the island, if you're here just to visit too, you'll find that it varies. There are some places and businesses that will ask you to sort things, and there are some that will not. And we've discovered that even as a homeowner, you can opt into this too, and I know businesses do sometimes, that you can just pay a fee for the year, and then they know that your garbage and recycling and compost has not been sorted, and they will actually
sort it. And they're sorting it for you.
So you're paying for it
to be
sorted for you. So some opt into that as well. But overall, I really like the program. I think it's really thorough, and I'm impressed with how our garbage shrinks down with where everything else goes. I think it's a good program.
So all in all, it's we're learning it, and it's not that big a deal once you know what you're doing. I'm going to put a little plug, a public service announcement in here. If you are coming as a tourist to the island and you're going to frequent beaches and beautiful areas, if you could just have that kindness in your heart not to pitch your litter, because there are places that are out there that definitely don't have bins right there and accessible, because there is so much beautiful walking space here on this island. Just stick it back in your pocket, take it back to your car, and I'm sure you'll find somewhere to properly dispose of it. I just know I have heard from some of our local friends and stuff that can be a bit of a heartache for those who live here full time when they come to their beaches and the season is over and it's just littered with grossness. So just have a little extra care for your friendly locals, as well as just being considerate of your fellow human beings.
So I hope you've enjoyed our trash talk, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care.